There are a lot of popular verses in Scripture, but one of them is rehearsed a lot is Psalm 34:8. "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." That is a great verse, well, or at least half of a verse. Usually the second half of the verse isn't quoted with it. Do you know the second half of Psalm 34:8? And even less often is the context of Psalm 34 taken into account when considering what tasting and seeing the Lord's goodness actually means. The entire verse says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him." Now let me ask you this question. Why would someone take refuge anywhere, let alone the Lord? Well, the answer is because there's something dangerous that they need protection from and refuge from. So if I connect the first half of the verse about tasting and seeing the Lord's goodness to the second half of the verse of taking refuge in the Lord, I might start to get my answer for what it means to taste and see the Lord's goodness. I believe if we're really going to experience the Lord's goodness, we're going to need to experience the Lord's deliverance. Ultimately, the deliverance that we need is a deliverance from our sin and the wrath of God that is due for our sin against Him, which is found through faith in Jesus Christ alone. But the psalm goes on to say in verse 19, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." Now, perhaps the first part of that verse might not be the most encouraging, that we'll experience many afflictions, but the last half of that verse is such a sweet promise. God will deliver us out of them all. Ultimately, that deliverance is through Jesus Christ, who will one day take us to be with Him forever in heaven. But in the meantime, we get to experience His goodness through His deliverance in our afflictions of this life. There is no doubt that our country and our world is experiencing a lot of affliction because of the COVID-19 virus. Many in our church family are experiencing affliction on top of the COVID-19 virus. You might well say with the psalmist, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous." But can I encourage you to be the blessed person in verse 8 that takes refuge in the Lord? Run to Him. Go to Him in prayer. Go seek His wisdom and truth in His Word. It's through obedience to His Word and crying out to the Lord for help that deliverance will come. Verse 21 says, "Affliction will slay the wicked." Friends, affliction isn't easy, but because of our great God, who is our refuge, affliction will not slay us. Of this we can be sure. Instead, affliction can be the very means of tasting and seeing how good our delivering, saving God is.